Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with your Sensei Al Bob. And I'm your griot here to tell you a story. So today is Armistice Day. We made this holiday after World War One because that was supposed to be the war to end all wars. But right quick, we realized we were in the business of war. We made so much money out of World War One, and that's one reason why we went into it. And that's what gave us the Roaring Twenties, all those dead bodies, burning like cordwood. But it was horrific. Anyone who experienced the gassing, the industrial killing, because World War One was the first real, you know, corporate, manufactured, industrial war. There was no reason, This know nothing Duke was riding in a parade in a carriage, and some anarchists threw a bomb at him, and it flew right over his lap and bounced on the chair and went out of the carriage, and they kind of giddy up a little bit, and it blew up about 50 people. And you would think if I was the Duke, I would have told the guy to keep getting up and let's get the heck out of here. But no, he went back into the thing, and then somebody shot him, missed him, and then somebody jumped up on there and just shot him in the head. So, and that was the beginning of World War One. Somebody wanted that World War One to really happen, and just because of some Duke caprice. So, we had World War One, right? And Woodrow Wilson got elected. I'm not sending any American boys to die in that war. 6 months later, after so many blowjobs, he, he was the Bill Clinton of the beginning of the 20th century. And he was a straight-laced preacher boy, white as white can be. I'm so white he wore, sheets. He was the Tide Boy. And he watched Birth of a Nation. First movie played in the White House was Birth of a Nation. Anyway, and then he proceeded to die. He was brain dead and still president for a number of months. His wife and Colonel Howes ran America, getting everything ready for the corporal to come. Let's go into the 20s. Oh, roaring 20s. Oh, but they called it Armistice Day, right? World War One was so terrible that halfway in, before we got into it, before Blackjack went there, we watched in horror as the industrial might came and killed hundreds of thousands of people a day. If you want to go see a good movie, Stanley Kubrick's movie about World War One with Kirk Douglas, it's very bad. The opening scene is he's walking through, it was a disgusting war. It was like this line, this ragged, like knife cut, and they had trench warfare on either side, and he's the colonel. It's called Paths of Glory, and he is marching down this slime, blood curdling, guts everywhere, feces, and he's like walking. He doesn't get a bit of muck on him, and he goes into this command center. There's a major there, and the guy is just like drinking and smoking cigarettes, and they called it shell shock, and he was definitely in it, and his subordinate said, hey, the colonel's here, and this guy, Kirk, basically in the movie is the son of all amazing generals, French generals. Right. So he goes there and he goes, and what happened was, when people talk about in World War One. Versailles, Verdun was the worst, right? And what happened in Verdun was Christmas holiday comes, they have a cessation, right? And you're supposed to get all your ducks in a row to start killing again. So they, Germans, French, English, right? So the French and the English start drinking and dancing, and then some of those guys are so drunk they wander out into no man's land over to where the Nazis are. Now they have a hold for Christmas, right? 48 hours, and so you know, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, not supposed to be shelling or shooting. So anyway, this bunch of drunk French and English guys stumble out into no man's land in front of the Germans. Hey buddies, how you doing? Hey, we got some sausage. You want to come out here? Bring your food out. We got some booze. So they come out, and before you know it, close to three quarters of the people on those lines in that area, about 150,000, come out, right, and share their hooch and their food and their fellowship, right, and they're reading the story of baby Jesus, right, and they're out there, right, and they just get totally shit faced drunk and eat all their goodies and patting each other in the back. And the French and the English are realizing the Germans aren't that bad. They aren't, some terrible monster. They're just like them. They're being told what to do by, people back in the main office. So they decide that they're not going to go back. They're just going to stay out there in no man's land and have a good old time. So, 48 hours go by, and the French guys want to start shelling, and the noise comes back. Hey, there is our guys are out there in no man's land, and they're dancing with the Germans, and the English are out there too, and they're taking their clothes off, and it's I don't understand it. They're kissing each other and hugging and refusing to fight each other. So the French go, fuck that, and start shelling their own people, right? We're done. Oh, it's the worst one. Well, that's one of the main things was that it was the the French that killed their own guys, and English and Germans, right? And once that was going, then the Germans started shelling back and to try and stop the French from doing it, and then the war was on, right? But something to the order of 300,000 people died out there, and they were just celebrating Christmas, right? And so of the French, of 120,000 guys who died there by their own people, by their own generals who shelled them because they wouldn't take an order to go back into the pestilence of the trench and start shooting the Germans, who they just learned that they like, right? And, you know, so that's what the movie House of Glory. So he comes, so the colonel wasn't there, doesn't know the story. And the French, the generals, instead of being, being punished for what they did, there's two guys that survived. No, three guys who survived. And they decided that they were going to blame the whole fiasco on those three guys. It was because they showed cowardice in war and ran. Well, what happened was they fell asleep. They were drinking a hooch in the pit. They were told they could drink and eat in the trench, party down in the trench, and they fell asleep. So when everybody went over the hill and went and danced in no man's land with the Germans and the English, those three guys were drunk, and so when everything, they were the only three that survived. So they got blamed, and so Kirk's Douglas is comes from this big lineage. He's a colonel. He's supposed to be going to be the head of the army one day. So he knows better. He knows to blame those three guys instead of embarrassing the French institutions. And so, but once he learns what happened, he is aghast. And so he basically defends these people, and he's going to blow the whistle on the whole thing. And all the generals said, "Hey, don't do that. You're ending your life here. Forget you. Yeah. So that's what happened was terrible. Yes, that's too bad. But hey." I'm not going to, the generals, all the old farts are going, I'm not going to jail for this, you'll die first. Anyway, so go watch that movie, Paths of Glory. It gives a good sense. A good book to read is Johnny Got His Gun. It was written in the 20s, and it was a true story. It's about this young man who, joined up to fight in the war, to end all wars. He wanted to, right? And he went there, and he was there for like 15 minutes. A howitzer shell whoop, blew off his legs, his arms, front of his face. He's blind, he's deaf, he's mute. He can't speak, right? He's so, but he's not dead, right? His penis and his internal organs survived, along with his brain. But everything else was gone, and so the doctors say, "Well, here's a guy who's this in this isn't this interesting. He's really dead, but he's not. So we can play with him. We can. This is a great opportunity to learn about the human body, right?" So they put him in a special room, and they get this nurse who is, high end nurse, and she's taking care of him. And she was when she was a little girl, her father was a telegrapher, right? On the railroad, right? And so she learned, Judy. I'm going to get drunk with the boys. You just keep passing messages down the line. So she knew Morse code very well. So she's taking care of this body, and he's banging his head against the thing. But he's, people think it's just, response. But in actuality, he is doing Morse code because he was a radio man, right? So he's like, what the fuck is going on? What, am I dead? What's and she like tapped him back, said, no, no, no. Are you in there? I'm in here. What's going on? I just can't see anything, can't hear anything. I can kind of, is that you? Boy, you smell nice, right? So they have friendship. So she tells the doctor, hey, this guy's alive. He's really in there. And they, she said, how do you know? I'm a telegrapher. He said, was he? They look on, yeah, I guess he was. So they bring in another telegrapher, and, they realize, oh, well, this is even better. Now we can talk to him and experiment on at the same time. She goes, no, this is terrible, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, they take her away, which is only friend, right? The new person they have is some, dickhead and pokes, it's a bully, and that's the end of the book, right? Right. And then when I was going to high school, my my teacher, Mr. JB, he Dr. Birmingham, no, that was the name, Bukhar. He, I was, he was my housemaster, a dorm master. We lived in these little houses, and that the teachers who taught us had, and so we were with our teachers 24/7. We went to school 7 days a week, right? So the what you call it, Mr. Bukhar, his father was a great hero. His father, when they on Omaha Beach, he was, his father was a scholar, right, a historian, etc. And but they made him a captain, and he, he was on the beach, one of the guys, ministering the floating of all those guys. But the Germans were up there with 77s. It was like sitting ducks, and because where they came off there were these things called hedgerows. They couldn't get through, so more were just blocking up. They couldn't, all the equipment, everything's getting unloaded, blown up, people dying, and no one can get it to 77s. They're in steel bunkers at the top of the hill. No one can get up there. Mr. Bukhar's dad goes over, and there were engineers there, and the ones that were there were black, right? And their commanding officer was Southern racist Ku Klux Klan guy, and treated these guys terrible, but they knew what they were doing. And basically, what happened is when they got coming on, the guy was going to get him killed. So he just happened to get a bullet in his head, from the back. And so the head sergeant, it was so much. No one even noticed the guy. No one liked him. He was head of the black guys, and anyone who was a human thought that was not fair. And so, no one even noticed he died. He was that incompetent, right? So the head sergeant was black, and everybody was black. And so Mr. Bukar's dad went over and said, "Listen, this is terrible. What do we do? You guys got bulldozers. You got what? What do you got? And the black guy goes, put all these steel girder things to keep tanks from coming onto the beach. We can cut those on. We can weld them onto the front of the tanks, and they can be like a plow, and they can plow through these hedgerows." And that's what they did. So after being shot at, because they were stuck, couldn't get past the beach, and the Germans were up there, and he had army right over there. If they just took that army and came there, that would have been it. They had Air Force over here. They bombed the beach. No air and no army, just the 77 shooting, and they're running out of shells, right? So they broke through, and it was like a flood, and that was it. The American army just flooded over that part of France and just kept going, right? And then Patton came and just took it even further, right? So Mr. Bukar's dad goes from a captain to a major, right? And gets in charge of that whole brigade, 3,000 guys, black guys. So instead of just being in charge, of a few hundred people, he was all those guys. So Patton saw what happened, and he took those black guys and Mr. Bukar's dad and put them with him when any bridge was out, this was done, we need this, we need that. These guys would do it, can do guys. And they got more, division awards than any other group in the U.S. Army in the beginning of the war, the first year and a half, right? And so, Mr. Bukar's dad went with his father. Bukar's father went with Patton the whole time and was right there and doing whatever they needed. And Patton, treated the black guy. Not in front of white people, but administratively, he realized these guys were very important to him. So he made sure that they were taken care of, and that. So Mr. Bukar's dad got to be a major, and he couldn't. Patton wanted to make him a colonel, but colonel black, no, major, okay, but colonel, no. So, but he, in the process of the Bulge, they got to a place where like 200,000 Americans were surrounded by Germans, right? And just to get and they were the last, and taking the other armies out too, right? So, and they were the last guys before the Germans kind of pricked the balloon and rushed in there, and they were right up this river, right up this bridge, and they were told to stop the Germans. And so the Germans said, okay, just surrender and you'll be okay. Listen, we've heard all about you. You're noble people. Your people hate, treat you like crap. And so why are you going to sacrifice yourselves? Because if you blow that bridge up, we are going to basically kill you all, right? We're all surrounding you. And so he just kept kind of negotiating while they were building another little bridge for them to get away. So when they blew up the big bridge to keep the Germans from going after, the rest of the Americans and everybody else. Anyway, so he does that. And so he gets he should have got 2 Medal of Honors. George Patton writing him up for 2 Medal of Honors and a ton of other stuff. And he just got Silver Stars and, Purple Hearts and a whole bunch of ribbons. Anyway, so he gets out. He could have had a really good career in the military, but he didn't. he went back to being a scholar, right back to a historian, right. And then the 50s rolled around, and he was, because he was a scholar and he had spent 1 year in Europe in the 20s, and went to a couple of meetings of socialists. He was blackballed, right, and totally. I mean, all his books that he had written exist. His position at Yale didn't exist. He didn't exist. He was an enemy of the state, right? And couldn't feed his family. They were going to take the house away. His wife committed suicide, and when Mr. Buchar came home, he found his father had eaten his gun. Top of the living room was covered with his father's brains. Now I worked at the VA hospital, right, for about 3.5 years, 4 years, and most of that time I was being educated, schooled, right, and developing alternative aesthetics to the military motif, right, and so I saw a lot of one of the biggest terrible things of the military motif, and this was done on purpose. Why the war in Vietnam? It wasn't just they called it Southeast Asia because it wasn't just Vietnam. It was Cambodia, Thailand, all of that peninsula was in war, right? And it was about four things, right? It was about means of production. It was about opium, tourism, and oil, right? Those were the four big things. Not communism didn't even come in there, right? Because Ho Chi Minh, he went to school at Columbia, at their law school, right? And he when fighting the Japanese, he was our guy. He was going to be the George Washington of Vietnam, and he was going to get the Coca-Cola bottling thing, right? And the French would be gone. And the war, French came back. He didn't get nothing. He got thrown in jail, and that's why Vietnam War happened. So he knew America as well. He knew how we fought because he fought at our side, and they were given a ton of weapons by the Americans. When we were going to invade Japan, so we had our industrial might for a year was stocking up. General Motors, Westinghouse, GE, Boeing, they were all making a ton of money because they were going to go and attack, Japan. And Japan tried to, because we had burnt their cities to the ground. Their cities are made out of wood and paper from, 30,000 feet. The Japs couldn't even, their artillery couldn't even hit them, right? Their airplanes couldn't even get up that high. And to be, 29s, the guys were, in T-shirts, it wasn't like the, B-24s and B-17s where guys had to wear, like, these electric suits because it was so cold up there. They were like, insulated. It was like flying an airliner, So we incinerated, once we got tan, once we could get to 2,000 miles, because the B-29 could fly about 6,000 miles, right? So it could do 3,000-mile round trip, right? So Japan was only 2,000 miles. So they had plenty of fuel to hang around, to get back. So anyway, we were getting ready. We had bombed their industrial might to nothing. We had sunk all of their aircraft carriers. They had no navy, and the Japanese were trying to sue for peace. And we said, no, you gotta cough up your emperor. You gotta, he has to pay for this. He has to go on trial. And the Japanese, that's their god. No, they're not gonna turn it over to the Americans. So kept fighting, and they said, if you come to Japan, then you're on our homeland. We'll eat you alive. Yes, you came, you took all those islands. You saw how bad we can be fighting, right? And yes, we don't want to die, and we sure don't want to die, the way you kill us with napalm. That's not a good way, because napalm it's gasoline with polyethylene added to it, little those little beads, right? And so when a napalm, it's like gooey, and so it gets on. It's like Vaseline. So, but they can hose you down with it. So, or and that's when the bomb comes. It comes and it breaks apart, and a flood of this flame goes at you. If any of it gets on you, that's it. Because let's say you just get it on your hand and you try to clean that off, and it doesn't come off. It will. Then your arm's on fire, then your shoulder, then your head. And that's the American way, right? So, good morning, says hey. Hey there, Janie Pooh. Bob on the bop. Yep. And today is Armistice Day. Today we call it Veterans Day because that's who we kill. We kill the veterans, right? We kill them during the war. And if they don't die at the war, we have killed them. So I was working at a VA hospital, right? Guys would be, injured, seriously injured in Vietnam because we had helicopters, the Huey, poop, 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 poop. We come, and it's interesting because the Viet Cong would blow up anything, but they wouldn't go after the Hueys because they knew if the Americans could get the wounded into that helicopter and take them back to the hospital, it would cost 100 times more to take care of that person than if they had killed them, right? It would occupy about 20 people, right? And so, especially the really wounded people, the Viet Cong let them get on that helicopter, right? And so that's why so many people didn't die. They were just severely injured, right? So they take them to the hospitals in the Saigon, major cities, and they would be advised, and then they'd be put on transports. And if people lived in the West Coast, they'd first be flied to Philippines. And why there's so many Filipino nurses in America is that we trained a Filipino because the Philippines almost became an American state. It was, we owned it up until after Spanish-American War. We Asian, all those islands, atolls, and places like the Philippines, places like Hawaii, places like a lot of places, we have more land under our ownership out there in the Pacific than we do in the United States. But those people don't get to vote, like the folks they're just like the folks in Puerto Rico. And we got that, we got Cuba, Puerto Rico, all the Caribbean, all of the we got from the Spanish-American War. And so if you lived on the West Coast, you were flown first to the Philippines, and then you were further stabilized, operated on, and then would be flown back to to the West Coast. If you were going to the East Coast, you'd be flown to Germany, Dachstein, or whatever the name of that place is. Again, operated on, stabilized. And that flight from Vietnam to either of those two places took about 6 hours, 6 to 8 hours, right? Now, they each of those aircraft had about 100 seriously wounded guys in stretchers. And so they morphine, knock them straight out, right? So they'd fly for 6, 8 hours to the hospital, and then they'd be operated on, still on morphine. Then they'd be flown back to America and put on morphine. And that's what, here comes some rain. This is the gigantic heroin in the United States, sick fucks to fight the war. So they needed pencil pushers and bean counters, and but they had to where the morphine goes in and goes, ooh, that's nice, right? And when alpha-amine goes in there, it changes that receptor to the point where you can get off of opium, you can get off of morphine, you can get off of heroin. You can't get off of alpha-amine. You can't get off of methadone. Once you're on methadone, that's it. You need your shot. That's what it was invented for. You need your shot every day. Otherwise, start climbing a wall. And you don't get stoned, right? So now you can, if you're on methadone and you can't get methadone, you can substitute morphine for that, right? But You can't get. You can get off of morphine, can't get off of methadone. So all these guys came back, and then they were put on morphine, and then they were turned into zombies for the rest of their life. And that's what happened. How we went from 1966 having 200,000 people in prison to 1976 having 4 million. And then, in 1996, we went to 8 million people incarcerated. And then when you add being on parole, you're looking at close to 80 million people, administratively incarcerated. And that's where we are today. Right? And now this was brought to us not from an outside enemy. It was bought by, and I hate the government. I don't. I mean, you hate your postman. No. The folks who administer these things aren't even our government. They're the people who buy our politicians, right? Now, we just had an election last week, right? And it's like, oh, it's a miracle, the red tide, where did that go? Now it's, and I would say, by Christmas, after everything's all counted and set, the Democrats will still be in charge, right? Because what they truly want is to have a divided government. If you let the Republicans have control, we wouldn't have had, divided government, right? So we're going to have more and more of that, right? Because it enables that hidden hand, and a hidden hand isn't the swamp or the deep state or whatever that. Those are just, conspiracy theories. I mean, and so you really have to, conspiracy theory, that's two words. Conspiracy, that's a word. When more than two people come together and do something without telling anybody else, that's a conspiracy theory. Is something, right? Conspiracy theory. Evil concept is, it's called grammar. It's called, your dictionary, So that's it. But there are, a hegemonic, transnational, unipolar, oligarchic, fascist Hail Hydra, right? Go wide. Jane, the thing about veterans is not to have any. Let's not have any wars. Someone asked Albert Einstein, you're the smartest guy here. How do we stop war? And he said, when young men refuse to fight war, we won't have war. But now, I don't know if you've seen on the internet, they have robots that, forget about it. It's like Terminator time, And basically, that's what they're going to do. They're going to basically take the American or the Western or the world population and put them under, here's your card, You can have a roof over your head. You can have 3 squares. You can have your little Xbox, but don't mess with us. And that's where we're heading. And so the majority of the working force that would mess with them will be replaced by robots, by algorithms like, an app. Your Sensei Bob was replaced by an app, right? All you people who think you're really hot stuff, all you lawyers, all you doctors, all of you teachers, within 5 to 12 years, you're gonna be homeless. You're gonna be similar to, but see, I have at least a place in the woods. It's just difficult to be there in the winter time, right? And that's why I'm on the BOP, because I'm looking for places, right? And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland, your Sensei Bob, me telling you stories here. And I just want you to know, thank you for everything you guys do, right? And if you want to send something to me on my PayPal, that'd be great. And it does work. A number of you do send me what you can afford, and I truly, truly appreciate that. I care amazingly with appreciation for all you do for me. So that's it. And this ain't a quid quo pro, transactional thing. I do this whether you guys send me money at all. That's not like a payment or anything. You're sending me a gift, right? And I appreciate those gifts, right? And being on the bop, I will appreciate them even more because I have virtually zip money, you know. And so I had to fix my car last month, and that took whatever little pillow I had. And the weather is, the weather outside is frightful, but inside the car it's delightful. And if you really, really want to know, oh, be bo, bo, be bo, bo, be bo. So thanks for the PayPal. Send it to the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail, Dude Awake 42 at Gmail, Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. The other night when I slept in the ditch, it was a beautiful night. That's why, one of the trolls, Mr. Eggplant, which I think is Yo-Yo, basically said, "Oh, why'd you sleep in a ditch? If you just came to me, you could be my dog." He's going on about me being his dog, woof woof, right? I did it because it was a beautiful night. It wasn't raining, and I was going to be on the bop. So I said, I got all the tools, and let's see what it's like to sleep out, right? Did it, right? And it was nice, right? Right now, I wouldn't want to sleep out here. It's raining, it's sleeting, it's going to. Hopefully, it will not really be winter until I find some place to be, right? If this weather can stay in the you know 40s at night and 60s during the day wherever I'm at, until I sometime between Thanksgiving and Christmas, because I'll find some place or something or somewhere in that frame. I'm gonna, depending on the weather and how much you guys send me, but I'm out of here in the next week or two. Right, that's pretty much it. I'm trying to get to West Virginia or New York or New Jersey, about 20 different places. Well, you should come and stay with us for Thanksgiving. I've got about 10 invitations, right? And I'm making my plans on, I know all these people. Who's the best cook? Who's got the nicest house? Who has a jacuzzi? So, like I said, I live like a millionaire on $400 a month, right? So anyway, that's the story, and I thank you for everything. Here we are, 39 minutes and 39 seconds on show. Welcome aboard. There's Jane's here, and there's one thumbs up. How about a few more? How about some comments? I love you, Janie, too. So, Jane, dear, why don't you send me a little message on the old email, and then we can talk more that way. So, I'd like to thank you for everything. I'm thanking you out there in the World Wide Web, Jane, for everything we do, along with the rest of the country. But the folks who get a hold of me at the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail, Dude Awake 42 at Gmail, Dude Awake 42 at Gmail, they're more my Padawan. They're more my adepts. They are. We talk mano y mano, talk about their issues or this or that. Yesterday, when I was out and about, I was at a place and I was talking to Lola. Lana, not Lola. But Lola, she reminds me of Lola the Kinks. Lola, Lola, Lona, Lona. She's the best, right? You all are best, right? So, want to get a hold of me? The Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. Let's see if this thing works. Do 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 do. Let's see. Try. Mm. Well, that doesn't work. Let's try this one. Uh, uh. Hello, hello, la. This is the amazing girl I'm calling, and Lana is
I'm sorry, but the person.
Yes, I know you didn't set up a thing with you. Okay. Well, let's try it. Dr. Woodstock.
Look who's here.
Yeah, baby, you're live.
Big kahuna.
Yeah, honey bun, you're live on the show.
I am okay, very good. I have this brilliant revelation.
Let's hear it. That's why I called. I knew you had a revelation. I felt it in my bones. So,
well, listen. When I was in Egypt, they have this Valley of the Kings. They have a Valley of the Queens. So naturally,
yes.
Knowing me, I asked them about the Valley of the Queers. So they looked at me funny, man. Well, we just want to make sure we have all bases covered.
Okay. What did they say to that?
Well, they just look at me funny because I don't know what's wrong with these people. Are they? They may not be, they're not current with the world around them. I don't think so.
No, they are. They just don't care about us.
Oh, come on, man. Don't fucking say. I think we are the center of the universe. Come on.
If we are, it's an awful small universe.
So since they don't have any Valley of the Queers, I think I am going to go back and establish something.
No, they do. No. They do. Come on. Everyone's. I mean, just look at the shit those guys were wearing. I mean, they out Madonna.
Yeah. Everywhere you go, man, people don't like America at the same time. From toe to the top of their head, everything is made in U.S.
Right.
Everything is fucking the shirts and the music. Everything is American.
Yep.
And it's really interesting how it works.
Well, it's called imperialism.
Yeah, well, that's possible. You go to freaking Korea.
Yes.
And the Koreans, they love American music, especially rap.
Well, you know,
even though they speak very, very little English
no,
at
but
the same time.
they've taken it to. I mean, I love. You know what the Koreans are?
What?
They are the zenith of the Irish American in Asia. They work
Wow.
hard, they party hard, they are gangsta, and so all of that shit. All, do you ever go to a baseball game in Japan or Korea? Japan is even wilder.
Yeah, I heard about that.
They have basically indoor, like it's like a basketball arena but larger, and so they got about 1,000 fans in the stand,
Mhm.
and everyone gets a like plastic bat, right?
Uh-huh.
And the bottom of the bat is kind of got a hole in it. It's hollow, and so when the two bats are hit together, it's like a drum.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
It's louder than shit. So you have 100,000 people, screaming and smashing their bat, um, and then it's basically they have weapons. They've drank enough, and they don't only give you beer at the stadium; they give you sake and whiskey and vodka at the baseball stadium. So these people get really totally whacked, and then they're screaming about their baseball game, and then they start whacking each other. It's like beyond bizarre.
Well, basically, and they let it go. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. True. True. True.
And,
True.
and,
True.
and the Koreans take it that much further.
Like,
Yes.
Colombians of Asia.
Right.
These people are really good, man.
Right. With an Irish twist. Have you ever been to Ireland? Place you got to go to Ireland.
Man, Ireland is kind of expensive, so that's one of my last stops, man.
On the Maastricht Treaty in '88, and over. But up until then, they were great, really good schools. Nobody had a car, but they had great buses and trains, and everyone had a job, and everyone could be drunk all day long, but like I said, they had free health care. I was in this little town, and I had impact tooth, and my head looked like a basketball. And I walked by a dentist shop, and the guy saw me, and he came out and said, "Man, come in." And there were a whole bunch of people who were there to get their teeth drilled or cleaned or whatever. And he says, "You doing anything today?" So he said, "Good." So he did a few things. Then he came and got me, put me in a room, hooked me up to nitrous oxide. And every hour or so, he would come in and do something to me. And then he said, "Okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to rip that thing out. I'm going to put a post in and put a fake tooth on top of it." And I said, "Rrr." So he did it, and it was amazing. And he gave me a bunch of, put me on an IV of saline and antibiotics to go after the infection in my bone there. And so by the time it came out, I had a new tooth. I felt great. And as I was, leaving, I said to the secretary, "What do you mean nothing?" Leaving, I said to the secretary, "What do you mean nothing?" Well, yes, since we have free healthcare here in Ireland. And I said, "But I'm an American." She goes, "But you're in Ireland, so it doesn't matter. The paperwork to try and charge you for something would be so ridiculous. We're just putting you on the list." And it's and
I heard about during
that's
the
when
war,
they were. That's when
Albanians went to Ireland,
right.
and they kept raving about the Irish hospitality, man.
Oh man, they're the best.
I heard about them. Those people are real beautiful, man.
Right, because they've been treated so bad forever.
Uh-huh. True.
They understand. I mean, that's why Bosnians and Croats, they are really hospitable because, like shit, their whole existence.
Yeah, true. That's true. First thing you come, when you get to my house, you get some rakia, which is plum brandy, baby.
Yeah, baby. I know.
anyhow, listen. What's today's topic? Let's get back to the regularly scheduled program, baby.
Well, you didn't tell us your insight, your big dream, your. Oh, you were saying the Egyptian queens. I got you. Okay, so that was your big insight.
Well, in Egypt, that was, man. I have this queer. I have a friend. She's queer.
Right.
So to make her feel good, I said, "Hey, listen, baby, I need to suggest we have we should have a queer valley here." She says, I'm all with you." She said.
Right.
So anyhow, back to Africa.
Oh yeah.
As I said, should any of your listeners decide to go to Africa, they should know exactly what they want to see the thing they go after, and get out, because lingering in Africa, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth.
Well, it's dangerous on every level. Psychic, physical, emotional, you name it. Right.
Yeah, and people are beautiful, and you don't want to spoil that good thing, because they are real nice people, but just bad situation they're put into, so they have to survive, man.
Well, 1,200 years of imperial oppression, because they've been, before the England got there, the Greek and Romans were there, and the Egyptians were there. So, and then you had the Persians, and so it's like, it's been going on for a long time, and that's because those folks were the original folks. That's why they're treated so bad.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm putting up my video, my version thing. I'll let you know when it's coming, and you should get a kick out of that, because, look, as a man,
right?
Okay, as a man, I liked it. Okay,
right.
My camera liked it, but as a human being, you cannot be but disgusted by the whole situation.
I know.
It's just like a meat market. It's like slavery, man.
It is slavery. They never stop.
Yeah.
They never stop.
Yeah, the guy comes over and just picks up any woman he wants and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I as a man, a human, it's not right, man.
And the bottom line, the real bottom line is that what you saw, right, is a metaphor for what's going on in the rest of the fucking world.
Yeah.
I mean, there in Chicago, there's the same thing,
Oh, yes, on a different form.
Right. But I mean, on every level, like people who go to work at Burger King, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That same kind of, I own you. You have no auspices over your own life.
Look. Let's say I was thinking about that the other day. Let's say you're playing in an NFL, okay?
Right.
So you are a man playing in NFL,
right?
And you are not allowed to say what you want,
right? Exactly.
Because NFL is an organization that makes money, and they want to please everybody.
Right.
Chinese, Koreans, Russians, every motherfucker. Right. So you have to walk the line, man.
Yep.
The same thing as any professional sport, especially NBA.
Yep.
I mean, they are trying to please Chinese big time.
Right.
So the same thing as you said, different level.
Right. And basically, the rich entities, the institutions, they basically said, "Listen, nigger, we're going to give you $20 million a year. So don't say shit. Just play the game." And then a bunch of basketball started doing it. She said, "We're paying you to dribble."
Who said that? Maybe the Lakers lady?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so we cannot have your own opinion. You're just here to.
Yeah, play. Just bounce that ball and put it in.
So yeah, but at the same time, look, I'm all against that. I'm against it. At the same time, man, I mean, you have to understand that point of view too.
What you mean?
I mean, this is.
No. That's that's meaning. Oh, I have to understand this harder. No, I don't think I mean, I do in that thing about that is in a lot of ways, let's pretend. It's like these guys, war. Today is Veterans Day, right?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
And you know what Veterans Day started out as?
No.
Armistice Day, in the you know celebration of the end of World War One, right? But
Uh-huh.
once we realized how much money we make out of making war, we had to change the name to Veterans Day.
Really?
We didn't want people to think about. We didn't have a problem with drugs in the United States, right?
Uh-huh.
Until the Vietnam War, because we sent close to 20 million, because we ran that war for almost 20 years. We started fighting there with the French around the Korean War, right? So from then until when we got out in 80, and we didn't finish the war until 1980. People think we got out in the 70s. No, we got out in 1980. And
Uh-huh.
so the guy would get injured, and the Viet Cong, when they heard the Huey go, whoa, 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 and they would not shoot at the helicopter taking the wounded away, because they knew if the wounded got back to the guy, right, and it would cost like $100,000 a day, right? But if they killed him right there, then those 10 people could do something else, and that money could be spent on buying more guns. So virtually the Viet Cong helped lift. I mean, there were times brought wounded Americans that the Americans missed picking up, and helped them get on the helicopter because of that, right? And the Americans wouldn't shoot them when they were doing that. So when those guys got back to Saigon, they'd be stabilized. Then they'd be put on a transport aircraft, and that airplane ride would be like 10 hours. So they would stick them on morphine all the way, right? And then they get at the hospital, they stick them on morphine all the way. And then, by the time they got to me, which my job was to help them get themselves back into life as a civilian, they were a heroin addict. And that's why we have close to 50 million heroin addicts out of the Vietnam War. And so and no one wants to talk about that. And then those people put on method. That's really bad stuff. And then that turned them into zombies. And so we went from, before 1969, we had maybe 600,000 people in jail. Today, including parole, we have close to 50 million people incarcerated. 50 million. I mean, and when you're on parole, it's like you're in jail, but you're just not in jail. So, and that has a lot to do. We should be talking about this on Veterans Day, because a great deal of veterans fell into that hole. They went to serve our country, and they ended up in jail.
So listen,
Yeah?
I'm shocked. They couldn't trust you with the. Oh my God! Maybe they were afraid you would turn around or something.
No, well, yes, or something, but no. So that's what they did.
I see. Well, in the Canadian military, I don't know why I'm telling you that.
Right.
Canadian, I used to work for United Nations with Canadian military and U.S.
Right?
And Canadian military is notorious worldwide for killing their own officers.
Yeah.
And in Canada, I mean, their officers are way different than American. I mean, they have to walk straight line, otherwise their ass is, they're gone, baby.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Well, in America, they do that too. In Vietnam, they offed a lot of people. They offed a lot of first lieutenants.
Yeah.
Yes.
I see.
They just didn't advertise it,
I see.
And the military, the army, didn't even care. I mean, that's how expendable the soldier was.
Yeah.
So they didn't care.
Yeah. Well, anyhow, yesterday
Yes.
in Chicago we had 75.
Ooh.
today is 75. Must have been some kind of a record.
Right?
And today is, guess what? 45.
Right.
45 from 75 overnight, man. So that's what it is.
Right. Well, it'll go back. Don't worry. It'll go back to. It's going to be in the 80s for Christmas.
I like that, man. Okay, I hope so.
I mean, that's just, that's the selling. That's how they're going to sell global warming.
Uh-huh.
You know, springtime all year long.
Hey, listen.
Yes.
How do you like? I think I'm sure you're eager to talk about the election thing, man.
Nah,
I'm sure you have a theory.
no, same as it ever was.
As it ever was. The forces that shouldn't be. That's how you call them.
Yes, yeah, the hand. Yes, the powers.
Yeah,
The powers that shouldn't be. Yes.
yeah, that's how you call them. That's a good one, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
So basically, it was a scam because all those morons who are all about, oh, it's a lie, oh, they stole it, oh, they just wanted to keep them going, and then, and the beauty about the Carrot Head is that he lies so much he tells the truth. You know?
He's so ugly, he's actually cute.
Yes,
Right?
exactly. Those things that look like that little dog that looks like somebody took a shit's face. Yeah, isn't that cute?
Yeah.
Because you listen to Carrot Head when he has those big rallies. I mean, it's like I can't and it's amazing for me. I am at a loss of words to describe what a moron. I just can't. I can't get. It's like I'm just this. What I'm doing right now is heard. The I'm talking about.
No, that's never heard of you.
Well, you might like him. Kurt Vonnegut. He was. He's a very interesting author, and he kind of had his real. I mean, people still read his stuff. He's dead now. He died in 2006. But between 63 to 2003, he every kid in high school read a couple of his books because he was a type, literary type, right? All to himself. Science fiction, political commentary, spiritual, and a pretty good storyteller. Put it all together, right? So anyway, when I was the anti-nuclear guy, right, and I was organizing rallies and stuff like that, I was part of a crew that put on a really gigantic no nukes rally in Washington. We had somewhere almost a million. We filled up the whole friggin' mall, right? And he was one of the speakers, right? Because most of those people knew who he was, and went out. He was like a rock star. He went out there, and the rallies were like concerts. And my Bono was there, and lots of other people playing. So anyway, Kurt comes out, right, and he's going to give a speech, and he is in his 80s, give or take, and he's coming out, kind of a frail little guy. He used to be kind of tall and he didn't look frail, but he looked pretty frail. And I got to talk to him a good deal, and he was stoned. I think he might have even been on acid. Timothy Leary he might have been on acid. And he comes out, right? And someone is before him was giving a speech about the military industrial complex and that this is all about money and right? So Kirk comes out and people are screaming and yelling like, he's Bono, and it's, for a good 5 minutes, they give him a screaming ovation. And then he's going to start his speech and he goes, I hate them. I hate them. And he can't,
What?
he can't put two words. He's so emotionally distraught about the warmongers because he was captured during World War II, and he was in a POW camp that was in Dresden.
Uh-huh.
And they were just, the Air Force knew about it and didn't bomb them, but they bombed all around them.
Uh-huh.
And when, the next day after the fires were putting out, they didn't have anybody to collect the bodies. So they went to the POW guy and said, hey, can you help us out with this? And there was something to the order of 100,000 people that were like crispy critters.
Uh-huh.
I mean, and not just blown up, but you know, how like that squirrel gets fried when it's in the fire and it's like stuck in that
What the oh my! It was that bad.
That bad because they were Dresden was not a military town, had no military anything, had no factories. They made toys, right? That's all they did was make toys.
So what was the logic behind bombing them to the fucking Stone Age?
Because it was a city that did not get touched during all of World War II. The war was basically over, and they were starting to test their weapons on them. So they used napalm and bombs that are called free air bombs.
Uh-huh.
And free air bombs are, you drop this thing and it has an explosive that is so, it blows up so quick that it sucks all the air from the surroundings.
Okay, I heard about those.
Right? And so, and I mean, surroundings like, half a football. It sucks all the air out of people's lungs to the point where it pulls their.
Oh, fuck, man.
Right. And then,
wow.
Lucky, right? They use.
So that's why they did that.
Yep, they first dropped those things, and then they dropped the napalm.
Oh my God!
So they, so there's this guy, and he's a POW, and he is, stacking these bodies like cordwood. So it definitely affected him about war. Right. So anyway, that was so he was. You could see he was like still suffering from PTSD and from bad experience, and he's probably tripping on acid, and he's in front of 500,000 people screaming, and he's just, I hate this, I hate, it was quite interesting.
Oh wow! Yeah, last time I remember I told you I was going to tell you Sunday. I couldn't remember. Blah blah.
Yep.
When you asked me about my trip.
Right.
So it got to me now, man.
And it is.
It is as follows. Our tour guide was a professor or something.
Right.
Well, that there's no money in that, so he became a tour guide.
Right.
So he was a well-rounded man. He was educated, all that stuff. So. Yeah, driving through one of those neighborhoods, I think in Mombasa or something.
Yeah.
And the houses were nice, and then the fences were high, and all that.
Right.
He says, you know what? He asked us, well, what do you think what these people are doing? I said, they must be government officials or something. No, he says, this is drug money.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, drug money.
I said, excuse me, sir? Can any Kenyans afford freaking drugs for people who have too much time and too much money? He says, things are falling apart, my friend.
Right.
And I was shocked to find out even in freaking Kenya and Africa, people are on heroin and all that stuff.
Right.
It's really amazing.
Well,
that was a shock to me.
When things fall apart, I mean, your average, is that your dog or somebody, is that dog chasing you?
No, I'm bird watching, and there's a lot, it's a park, so a lot of dogs and things.
So, when things fall apart, that's when drugs come in. And drugs are brought in by the governments and the people taking advantage of the situation to basically, what does a drug do? But it drugs the community, it drugs the population, it drugs, it medicates them. And that's, in America, virtually everyone is self-medicated. They're either drinking, smoking, doing overeating, over this, over that. Everyone is self-medicating in America.
Yeah, I know. I'm doing too much sex just to.
Right. Well, that's a good healthy thing.
Well, no, well, that sounds good, okay? That sounds good, but it's just one of those wishful thinking things, baby.
All right. You're really wishing. You're wishing. You're wishing.
Yeah. All right. Anyhow, listen, you're not telling me about yourself, man. Talk.
Well,
Tell me how you're doing.
I'm hitting the road. I'm going on the BOP in a week or two. Because
You're going to New York?
West Virginia, New York, Virginia, New Jersey, New York.
Well, just a second. Weren't you supposed to babysit some house or something?
Yeah. But again, it's all timing.
Uh-huh.
Right. So when it's time, I will be there. And
I
so,
thought.
yes.
Well, I was actually getting ready to visit, man, because.
Well, I'll be there. I will be there sometime between Thanksgiving and Christmas. So that gives you a lot of time. And I will stay there until March. So.
Okay.
You got plenty of time. But because I can't, my car, I can't just. I have to do it in little dribs and drabs. The journey. I can't do it all at once. I don't have the money. You wanted to send some money to PayPal. The dude awake 42 at Gmail.
No. If I do that, I'm going to call you and send it to you through Western Union. Okay, that's what I'll do.
Okay, whatever. But anyway, I'm. Yeah, I mean, I can go to almost any supermarket and pick that up. So anyway, so my journey is not all at once. I'm not going to go from here to there. My little car needs to do 200 miles here, then stay there a while, make sure it's okay, then go a little further up, and then stay a while and make sure it's okay, and I'm going to go see other people.
I see.
Is my plan, right?
Okay. So you want to see some other people, man? I like the way you put it.
Yep.
Should we start seeing other people, man?
Yeah. No.
Let's start seeing other people, okay?
I already do.
Oh my God! You're my heart, man. You didn't tell me a deal like that.
It was an open relationship.
Get this! I discovered this place.
Yeah.
I discovered this place where the birds will come and eat from your hand. So it's really nice. I mean, they will come land on your hand, and they will land on your head, and all that stuff. It's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
So that's in 4 weeks. I'm hoping, and I'm buying a ticket one of these days. Pretty soon, I'm going to South America.
Okay.
I'm going to Bolivia, Chile, and Argentina.
Okay.
Because there are some things I have to see down there.
Yeah. Argentina is a really beautiful. I mean, all of those countries you just mentioned are very beautiful.
But
Argentina, I like the best because the Nazis are there.
yeah,
All the trains run on time.
Well, the Argentinians are for some reason called the French of South America.
Yeah.
Now I can get into the details, but that's what they are called, French of South America.
Yeah.
And if you go to Argentina, people take their shit too seriously, man. Nobody can enjoy themselves, and the old couple they always walk hand in hand, and everybody's proper. And I can't function like that.
I said the trains run on time.
That's what it is, man.
Right, and it's very pretty. And the other thing is that I found that was quite interesting was it's a kind of hard to explain, not quite an open mind, but as long as you're like diplomatic in that you don't attack their point of view, they will be interested in, well, that's interesting. You know what I mean? They will go,
So I'm sitting in Buenos Aires on a bench.
Right.
And the guy next to me is sitting, and he's like a middle-aged man.
Right.
And he starts talking to me. His English is pretty good. They don't speak that good English, but his English was good. He says, how do you find Argentinians? And I am still not very honest man with myself. So I sometimes still lie.
Right.
I don't like it, but anyhow. So I said, hey, they're nice people. He said, you're fucking kidding me, man? He says, no, that's what he says. I said, no, I'm not kidding you. So I had to keep my lie, going because
Right.
now I'm lying. Are you fucking kidding me, man? He says, these people are out of their mind.
Right.
He says, did you try to joke with them? Did you try to? I said, no. But he says, no, man. These people, and he was an Argentinian.
Right.
He says, these people are fucking like, they have a boom up their ass.
Right. And they do. That's why I said the Nazi people.
Yeah,
Nazis
yeah,
have a,
yeah.
the only people, the people have the broom up their ass. And, the thing about Nazis is that they can be of any color, caste, gender, or religion.
yeah.
You don't have to be German. You don't, that we, at my friend's library, he's an archivalist, right? And so he's a historian. And so he gets all these newspapers. So I was reading this newspaper, and I'm a big fan of microfilm. Did you ever go to the library and use a microfiche?
Never.
But you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I know.
Because you can dial in whatever you want, and it's like you're going through a time machine, because the machine goes through that whole roll, right? And you don't have to go super fast. You can go slow enough to see the pictures and the this, and you can say stop, and bing, it'll stop. And you can blow it up, as the screen itself is like, a foot and a half wide and 3 feet. It's a gigantic screen because it's a projection basically, and it's not electronic. So that's, and I've used it for years, so I'm kind of spoiled. I'm a big, so that's what my historian friend, he likes me because I like microfiche. So anyway, I'm there, and I was reading a story about the American Bund. The Nazis in America before World War II. Did you know that there were 6 million, or many multi-million American citizens who were Nazis? Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that, sir.
Yes. Well,
that's a news to me.
Yes. And so they had their big Nazi party, like in 1935, in Madison Square Garden.
Wow, you kidding me?
No. And all of 7th and 8th Avenue, the city of New York, put SWAT stickers on every lamppost.
What the? You're kidding me?
No.
And there are pictures and videos of that?
Yes, pictures and movies, yes. Yeah, of the speeches.
Wow.
And politicians came and just told these Nazis how great Americans they were, and it's pretty amazing, right? And then, and the beauty of this whole thing was, so the microfiche device is kind of connected to the computer, right? And it's a little thing on the side that it says like hit Google or Wikipedia, right? So I said, let's see what those guys have to say. So it went and dug up everything, and there were article after article after article after article about all the different states in the Union that had a Nazi Bund, and they were like the Girl Scouts, meaning they had camps everywhere.
You're freaking kidding me,
No,
man!
no,
Nazi camps?
Nazi camps, and they were named after the death camps.
Fuck, man.
Auschwitz, and they're little, Nazi girls with pigtails running around in the little skirts and the white shirt and the little. It was like, okay, and that was America in 1935.
Wow, wow, man, this is shocking to me.
Yeah. Well, they don't, but it's there. I mean, it's not like, if you're a historian, I sat in his little office, and it took me all of I stumbled across the thing on the microfiche, and then I hit the button on the Wikipedia and Google, and all that shit was there.
Wow. Listen, a friend of mine is coming.
Right?
Once a friend of mine is coming. She. Well, I think she wants to be more than a friend, and she's talking about coming to Asheville.
Oh,
Asheville.
okay.
And she goes. I mean, she's been there before, so I told her about you. So here she comes,
Oh,
and I am going to give her for as a present a dildo.
is she walking? Is she walking up to you now at this minute?
No, she's walking. So I have this thing in my. Oh, you wanna be live and I present her the gift?
Yeah. That's and then I want to talk to her on the phone because I'm going to say.
Well, I mean, she may not be willing to talk. You say, hold on a minute.
Well,
Okay, I'll talk. You can talk to her.
why don't I talk to her first before you give her the dildo?
Yeah. Okay, hold on. You talk to her. Hold on. Here's my friend from Asheville. Come on. You want to talk to my friend from Asheville, from Boone?
Yeah,
Right now, because he has a live chat on YouTube. You want to be his guest of honor?
yes.
Come on.
Come
No,
on.
she says he has a stage fright.
Well, just put the phone near her so she can hear my voice.
Oh, okay. So anyhow, this guy is cool kid. I think you would like the guy.
Let
Come
me
on.
talk. Just put the phone next to her, and I'll talk to her.
She said not today. She has a headache.
Oh, come on. Hey, just put the phone nearby and put it on speakerphone and let me talk.
Okay. All right. So.
Okay. So hey, what's her name?
She
Mary.
says her name is Mary.
Mary. Listen, Mary. If you come to Asheville, David will give you my email, and I live right nearby. Now I'm going to New York and West Virginia and Virginia and other places, but I'm on the BOP just to stay out of the woods. But if you come here in the summertime, I am the dude. I know amazing places to go swimming and.
You've been there before, Mary, right? You've been there before? She said she's been there before.
Right. But I was why Asheville is so cool. I was the dude there in 91 to 99.
That was last century, okay? That was last century,
right,
baby.
Right.
You have to move up.
No, but that was then. That was like, Prince singing Party Like It's 1999. I was Asheville for 10 years.
Hey, listen.
Yes?
Let me go because I have to talk to my friend here.
Okay. Did you bring batteries?
Battery? What?
Batteries for the dildo.
For the dildo? No, this is not a battery operator. This is one of those. This is a battery operator.
Okay. I'll talk to you later. So, hi there, kids. Let's see. What time is it? I haven't had breakfast yet. 11 o'clock. Oh.
Other poor drainage and low-lying areas. Some locations that will experience flash flooding include Burnsville, Mount Mitchell State Park, BR, Parkway Paggy to Little Switzerland, Shello, Nickerville, Visick, Green Mountain, and Bandana. Heavy rain is increasing the risk of landslides, especially in areas where slides have occurred in the past. Be especially alert if you are near a stream, especially at the base of a mountain or in a cove. Watch for loose-moving soil and rocks or a sudden increase in stream flow. Leave the area quickly if this is observed. When driving along roads where the terrain is steep or rocky, watch and listen for falling rocks, mud, trees, and other debris. Turn around. Don't drown when encountering flooded roads. Most flood deaths occur in vehicles.
What they said, all those places.
Is a flood bulletin. Flood watch remains in effect through late tonight.
So all those places are about 60 miles from
they
here.
actually held. But from a military and sort of tactical point of view, there were some real questions about why it was happening at all, because there were issues that the Russians were having in resupplying not just troops with food and clothes as winter came in, but also equipment. And so from a military and tactical standpoint, I think they had pretty much given up on moving Odessa from Kherson. And so this actually allows them to move back east of the Dnieper River and fortify those positions. So it doesn't really change their strategy in the broader scheme, because as winter is approaching, I think we're going to see both sides really dig in, not make any advances. And, with the river potentially being frozen over, it really would have been tough to resupply the troops in Kherson.
Anne-Marie, senior U.S. officials have been calling on Ukraine to signal that they're open to negotiating a peace deal with Russia. How have Ukrainian officials responded? And also, what do you make of the timing of this news?
Well, the timing is interesting because it also comes on the heels of course, what we're talking about, which is the Russian forces pulling back from Kherson, the strategic location for Russia. And interesting, I was at the Biden press conference this week where he was asked about this, and he said it's interesting they did it now because we knew they were going to do that for some time. So maybe the United States sees that now is a formidable time to open up the dialogue. Zelensky, in his remarks this week, he wanted to be on Ukrainian terms. And he says he's open to, quote, genuine peace negotiations. The biggest thing for Ukraine is that they want to restore territorial integrity. Whether or not Russia is going to be willing to do that remains the biggest question, and they likely won't. Because for Ukraine, territorial integrity also includes Crimea, which was illegally annexed by Russia in 2014.
Right. Indira, in what context might President Zelensky be open to meeting with Kremlin leadership about this?
Blah, 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 blah. All I can say is all that little discussion of Johnny got his gun and, Paths of Glory, the Stanley Kubrick film. The only good thing for war is for the businessman. It has nothing, my friend who just came back from Africa, right? We've talked off the phone about it. It's just, he travels a lot. I mean, he's all over the place, right? And he's kind of in the same, he pretends he's a goofball, but so do I. Yeah. But he's definitely, goes to study what's going on. Yes. And his cover is, goofball. My cover is Al Bob, Sensei, and Griot. And so we're almost cut from the same cloth. So he's a good 15, 20 years younger than I am. So he's still a bouncy guy. But he has a beautiful wife and a beautiful family. And he's got a beautiful life. I mean, his work takes him all around the friggin' world. And so he does that. And then he gets to, spend a month or two with his wife and not have to work. And when she gets tired of him, he goes on these projects. So, so that's the world we live in. And until we can learn to love one another, to serve, and every day and every way to take the peace of the earth and make it stronger, it's just going to be the same all the time. And the excuse of I'm a Christian and end times are coming soon and I'm going to heaven and you're going to in the lake of fire. No, sorry, that's not going to happen. Heaven and hell are right here, right now, right? Go look at some pictures of Rwanda. Go look at some pictures of Yemen. Go look at Ethiopia. Go look at what happened in Pakistan. Go look at what happened in Florida and Kentucky. Go look at what happened in Kentucky. That whole neck of and where that flooding thing happened in Kentucky. That's not far. All of those kind of places are about 60 miles from where I'm at. And if I was a bird, they're even closer, right? But I live in this accordion between the Blue Ridge and the Appalachian. I live in a Sawtooth Mountain range. So it goes up and down, up and down, up and down. So there is, if you're, and I'm at top of one of these ranges, but I'm in a holler at the top. So meaning the tippy top of this neck of the woods is maybe it's behind me and it's up maybe 200-300 feet. But I'm at about 3,800 feet elevation. So, and I spent a good 10 years, and I'm not in the holler where everything comes together. I'm in a side holler, meaning I'm in this zing zing and zing zing, right, and zing, right there. So the real holler is way down here. Me, I'm up here. So, and I'm not where like 10 mountains come together. I'm where it's really the same mountain. It's just that it comes down and then goes up, right? And so where I'm at, and why I bought it, because it's the flattest place. Instead of people live around here are all like bing, bing, bing. Me, I have 4 acres that are relatively flat, and then the other half, or 1 acre, this used to be a farm, so it's terraced. It still is, even though it's a forest. It's still terraced, meaning I still have things growing in those terraces, right? That like that kind of forest life. And being in my little holler, it's like living in a swamp cooler. So it's quite interesting because oh, where my man cave is, where I sleep, it's right there. And so I when I had money and I kind of excavated everything and put in French drains and put 2 big um, drains on either side of where the thing is, and I made that my lawn. And I covered it in stone first. I got 4 inches of stone and French drains, and then these 2 big things going out. So, like, this morning we probably had 2 inches of rain in an hour, right? I mean, real nonstop gully wash, right? And I, fell asleep, woke up, it wasn't raining, got dressed, said I'm going to come up here and do this before noon, and then I'll go have breakfast. So anyway, I'm going to do that because this show's been on now about an hour and a half, and I pretty much talked about everything I wanted to talk about. I'm getting hungry, and etc. But anyway, so I spent a good 5, 8 years making my site perfect. Now everything's grown back. It's beautiful. It's the Garden of Eden, and that's Earth, Garden of Eden, right? Now, before I did all that, it was like a soggy, mosquito-ridden, no-see-em, eat-you alive. You walk into that woods, and it was like poison ivy and every kind of poison, everything, and it had blackberries, which are like yummy little berries on razor blades, right? So I didn't put a fence around the property. I just kind of cleared out a number of pads and cut down a number of trees in the center so there'd be light so it would dry out the gooiness. And it's, Garden of Eden, right? But around the forest, it's still that way. So if anyone wants, the moron up the road from me, about a mile and a half, the Floridian, he cut everything down and then put a fence. So he made it easier for people to get at him, right? He's got all these signs. If you want to know what's to be dead, come across this line and I'll kill you, right? So that means he's got guns. So that's like advertised. He's got those signs everywhere, and then, smile, you're on TV. That means that, these people should look for where the cameras are and not be there. I mean, if you're going to do all that stuff, you don't tell anybody, right? So, watch out for the deadly dogs. He's got these little teeny dogs. I mean, yeah, they make a lot of noise, but they hang out with me. They're quiet when I'm with me, except when something might be threatening to it. Then they make a lot of noise. So they're really nice to me. I get all of the bestness out of them because I've known them since they were puppies, and I treated them nice. I taught them how to sit, how to lie down, how to go to sleep, how to not shit in my house. Well, I never lived in a house, but not to shit where I'm going to walk. He's doing shit everywhere in his place, and and just go right around me. They don't say anything. They come over. I only know they're there when they lean their little heads on me because they want their heads scratched, right? And the other night, this one just would not shut up, and it was right during the lunar whoopee-doo, right? And so I was, well, I'm going to go out there in about 40 minutes, so I'll see. Right? So maybe she was waking me up because it was about 4 in the morning. Anyway, I went out there, and it was a big dump of somebody's scat. So something big was there. Right? It was Bigfoot or a bear or whatever it was. And that little guy, I mean, the dog's about that big, but man, I just would not shut up. So I knew that it was barking at something, right? So I said, okay, I'll just have a cup of tea. And when the lunar thing is it, and it's a full moon, so it was kind of interesting. It was kind of interesting. So now there's two, and there's one thumbs up. How about some more thumbs up? How about you put something in the old PayPal? And all those who have put things in the PayPal over the years, thank you very much. I love you all. It's really great because it always comes just in the nick of time. And I'm going to be on the road, so that nick of time is going to be a little, because it's easy to live like a millionaire on $400 a month out in the middle of the woods when you go nowhere. You don't buy gas, you don't do this, you don't do that, you don't buy anything. It's easy, right? But I'm going to be on the bop in the next 2 weeks or so, and I'm going to be on the bop till March. So I could truly use your assistance. So come on, in the next week or so, throw something in there for your Sensei Al Bob. And do to wake42 at Gmail, do to wake42 at Gmail, do to wake42 at Gmail. Okay? Anybody wants to talk to me about anything, do to wake42 at Gmail, do to wake42 at Gmail. All lowercase, all one thing, do to wake42 at Gmail. Dude, awake 42 at Gmail. Okay? So there you go. I love you guys. You're the best. I might come back later this afternoon or may not, or tomorrow. It's all the way. I mean, if we have, because I've been doing my little weather thing that I learned from the old crone, and it almost got sunny. Like I said, that flood thing you heard, that's only like right over there. If I was a bird, I could. Mount Mitchell really is just maybe 40 miles by the way the bird flies, right? By the way the car drives, it's about 60, right? Maybe a little more, a little less. So, and I know the back roads. I mean, if I take the back roads, it's about 60. I take the county road that way, and then the county road that way, and then the county road that way. It's almost 80 miles, but going through the hollers. Anyway, so there you go. I love you. Talk to you later.